Today, I will share the results of my research on the technique, design, and development of Bernardo Strozzi during his time in Genoa and Venice. A total of 40 paintings were analyzed, with 30 of these created during Strozzi's time in Genoa, and then during his period in Venice. The analyses were conducted over several decades by various institutions, then published the result in addition to those performed personally. Therefore, not all the works are subject to the same investigations. This is the problem. For some, only the cross-section are available, while for others, only the infrared images are available. In only a few cases, there are analyses that allow us to have information of entire work, i.e. support, materials, and design. Moving forward, it would be beneficial to implement the analysis protocol to investigate the works. In order to study these works and their pictorial development, analysis will be carried out using cross-section, micro and macro photography of the pictorial films, as well as observation on the canvas and infrared images. This diagnostic review provides information on the construction of the material of the canvases, the color and the chemical composition of the ground, the underdrawing, the underpainting, and the development of the pictorial film and the pigments. In this slide, we will therefore observe the canvas's armor and the weft and warp ratios. This will allow us to better visualize the types of support used in Genoa and Venice during the period in question. With the exception of two paintings, 1 and 2, which dates back to the Genoese period and is characterized by a twill weave and the signature, all the paintings are executed on a canvas weave. As is evident, the Genoese works typically exhibit a warp-weft ratio of 10 to 10 per square centimeter, with the exception of the Cook. It's important to note that during the Venetian period, all paintings were created with a different ratio. As demonstrated in the macro image on the left, the plane wave is evident, while the right-hand image showcases the twill wave. The image has been taken using reflecting lighting to accentuate the wave. This is the painting that features with the twill wave, which is also the only one seen on the book spine. The twill weave is a more expensive and robust type of fabric than canvas. It is therefore conceivable that the patron was of a high status and paid a higher price for the painting than for similar ones, but with different support. In 1895, a program of restoration work was undertaken for an exhibition at the Ducal Palace in Genoa. This provided an opportunity to carry out a 91 of cross-section for the purpose of analyzing the ground and the paint film. Following a thorough analysis, it was determined that the paint is produced in Genoa factories a light brown ground composition. Characterized by a blend of art with minimal air content, along with variable amounts of white lead and calcium carbonate. In areas where calcium carbonate is abundant, dolomite particles are often found in association with marble. The low iron content in relation to magnesium, aluminum, and silicon, and the total absence of manganese result in a light-colored art that has not yet been identified. In contrast, the Venetian ground is characterized by red color, with white lead and calcium carbonate, red and yellow art, and smoke black as its constituent materials. This type of ground is representative of Venetian production and is commonly referred to as red bolo. As the table illustrates, there isn't distinct imprimatura, but rather multiple pictorial layers, which can be termed underpainting, present beneath the final color layer, and which vary according to the color fields. Furthermore, many stratigraphic presentations exhibit one or more layers of underpainting, comprising a variety of colors. These likely serve to create a specific tone in the final color, depending on the transparency of the brush strokes. I would like to point out that the painting of St. Francis, preserved in Rotterdam, dated 1610, actually has a red ground. So, the dating should be postponed to the Venetian period. Like the Virgin of the Assumption of Saint Raymond of Pennaforte, preserved in Lake Gueglia, since there is not chemical analysis of the ground, it has never been performed but is based only on the observation. As demonstrated by these two cross-sections, there is a clear distinction in the color of the Genoese and Venetian ground. As illustrated in the table, the Genoese variety is light brown, while the Venetian variety is red. Furthermore, the Genoese cross-section, the black underpainting beneath the final red color is clearly visible. Unfortunately, the only available cross-section of the Venetian period, the underpainting. But we know from the description given in the publication concerning the analysis of the work about that it's present different color. As demonstrated in these macro and micro images, the underpaint is clearly visible beneath center works. The painting preserved in the church in Lake Gueglia featured a pink-red out beneath a blue sky. In the lute player, black is visible under the flesh, while under the blue, pink is visible similar to the work in Lake Gueglia. In the Genoese works preserved at the Academy and private collection, can be seen under the white as seen in the micro image with 200 magnifications. It has been observed that in the works attributed to the first period, under the incarnates, this tone is frequently present, enabling it to emerge through the passages of the shadows. Indeed, in the Venetian work preserved in Vienna, black is used in place of gray under the incarnate. Infrared imaging of Strozzi work identified under drawing executed with carbon black only in one work, the Martyrdom of St. Ursula. On the light emboss that appears the saint, and the necklace that had been designed shorter. However, X-rays revealed a drawing executed with white chalk, suggesting the presence of a work by St. Francis. To date, only these two paintings can be considered to present a shorter drawing. Instead, we observe the changes it frequently makes during the pictorial phase. For instance, the cook in the Palazzo Rosso Museum has undergone significant changes, as is clearly evident in the infrared macro image. The handle was moved, and the chain don't reach the handle, i.e., there was no hook. The goose's wings were higher, while the turk's legs were farther to the right. Finally, a third board was observed suspended from the right-hand side. They were singed to the wall of the table, and the shirt was less low-cut. In other paintings, changes can be observed, for example, in the flute player and the Virgin and Child with the Saint John. Strozzi palette, as indeterminate by chemical physical analysis, conduced a line closer with than of 17th century painters. It should be noted, however, that in Genova's works, minium is present. This was a very rare pigment in this era, used to color the flames in the paintings and the rust-colored dress of the Magdalene in the Lamentation. The other two pigments merit particular attention. Latin yellow the second, and grey smalt. These pigments very frequently used in the Venetian region, but they are also present in Genoa's works. In particular, the green smalt, mentioned by Vasari, has proven to be a challenging item to identify, as you will see in the Virgin with the Child, St. John the Baptist, and St. Lawrence displayed in the Church of the Sordomuti in Genoa. The examples illustrated the use of different types of underpainting by the artist. If you consider only the pictorial film, it's evident that Cappuccino employs various underpainting to tone the colors. This is achieved by either pressing or not pressing the brush, allowing the underlying color to show through. Okay. As demonstrated in the following slideshow, early in his career, he employed a gray underpainting technique beneath the flesh tone as evidenced in these macro images. In the third photo, we observe how the layers of color are superimposed directly of the painting, with the color already dry. The glasses of the last steps exploit the underlying tone. Finally, in the cook, the gray is no longer observed under the pink of the end of the color. In this case, the color white are more covering and better defined in their conduction. In conclusion, to date, the differences between Genoa and Venice primarily concern the material used, namely canvas, ground, and drawing. However, Strozzi employs a consistent execution method, utilizing various canvases, grounds, and drawing, and applying a color tone formed by many underpaintings. It's also understood that at the commencement of his career, he employed a gray underpaint beneath his flesh tones. Infrared images, especially in the Genoese area, are not significant, precisely because of the different underlying painting present, and therefore the thickness of the material, in some cases, or a dark underpainting, that does not allow the passage of the electromagnetic wave. The Venetian period and the red ground infrared shots are of little significance, except insofar as they reveal the pictorial changes. Indeed, only X-ray revealed a drawing in the work of St. Francis. Finally, some work such as the St. Francis should be postponed or brought forward. And this is the scoop that told Anna before. In order to continue comparing the work from a material perspective, as well as a stylistic one, it will be necessary to apply a unique analysis protocol in order to ensure the most accurate comparison possible. Thank you for attention.